Welcome to the ID10T podcast number 950.
950?
950, Katie Levine.
50 away from 1,000.
Oh, my God. But you know what, though? That's still, well, yeah, initially we were going to do one a week, but we've gotten so many great guests.
Yeah, it's been pretty quick.
Like 2 or 3 a week sometimes. So we're going to get to 1,000 before the end of the year. Yeah. What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to do a thing for 1,000? I'm sure it has to be a hostful, I think.
Yeah.
It either has to be a hostful or we have to, like, resurrect Lincoln or Caesar or someone for the 1,000th episode.
Yeah, you gotta do something big. We'll have to think about it. We have 50 episodes.
But that's going to go, it's going to be like, there's no time.
Yeah, it's like 20 weeks.
I've been doing the podcast for 8 years, or 8.5 years almost. I mean, for crap's sake. Well, let's just jump right into the corkboard. Katie, you have some corkboard related business that you want to share.
I do. Alicia Hubble writes, I started making postcards in 2012 from donated recycled bags, and I have built connections within the Chicago community. I am now making blank cards, envelopes, home decor, and more by embroidering, watercoloring, and sketching. If anyone is interested, please check out my work on Instagram at Granny Abel and on Etsy at Granny Abel, and that's Abell. And Greg Walker writes, my brother Ian graduated with his Bachelor of Fine Arts in Illustration last year, and he's been working hard to get his career going. His art focuses on monster-type illustrations done by hand. His stuff is really cool. You can check it out. He has buttons, stickers, prints, and originals available for purchase at walkerillustrations.storenv.com, or you can check out his Instagram at Walker Illustrations.
Thank you. This episode is Kevin Heffernan and Steve Lemme, who are in The Broken Lizard. Yep. And Super Troopers 2 is in theaters. What day?
4/20.
What? Oh my God. Oh my God. But I hear it's fucking amazing. And they're such great guys. They also do the podcast Chewing It, which Katie also produces. And they're fucking funny and fucking nice to the point where I'm having to swear for emphasis. But God, I love these guys. They're just nice guys.
They are. They're super nice
and
chill,
funny
cool guys.
So please go see Super Troopers 2 because they crowdfunded it.
Yep.
And they got the thing made. And they are such an amazing example of, hey, our fans want us to do this thing. We're going to do this thing. And we're going to give it all we got, you know. And I'm really proud of them. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see the movie. And you should too. This episode brought to you by Mattress Firm. Hey, person, are you struggling to get to sleep? If so, Mattress Firm wants to help you. They're America's neighborhood mattress store, and they're going to help you stretch your budget a little bit further when you're looking for ways to improve your sleep. And it's not just that they're mattress experts. They're going to straight up help you build your bed from headboards to adjustable bases to sheets. They even have bedroom decor. They're going to have you covered literally and figuratively. They're going to cover up your sleepy little body when you crawl in. You just go to Dreamy Town. If you go to mattressfirm.com, you can save 10% with the code podcast10 through May 2nd. Mattress Firm offers a 120-night sleep trial to ensure perfection and 120-night low price guarantee, so you know you paid the perfect price. Mattressfirm.com. Learn how your sleep can be tremendously improved. Use the code podcast10 through May 2nd. Also brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. There's a new boss in town. This is a bacon boss at Buffalo Wild Wings, the Bacon Boss Burger featuring bacon 3 different ways and a blanket of white cheese sauce, joined by other new favorites like the smothered cheesesteak quesadilla, sweet chili shrimp, and Alaska cod classic. All pair perfectly with one of the new Izzy sparkling juices or Aquafina water. Hurry in today. Try them before they're all gone. Buffalo Wild Wings, available for a limited time while supplies last. Here is the ID10T podcast number 950. It sounds like a police code.
It does.
Which is perfect.
We got 950.
We got 950 over here. 950. What's 950? Oh, that's when Kevin Heffernan and Steve Lemme returned to the ID10T podcast, formerly the Nerdist podcast. And 95. Maybe 951. No. Maybe 950 is roll the thing. We got a 9.
He can run crazy fast. He can fucking catch. He's like one of the most versatile running backs.
No, Katie. He's a backup running back.
No, he's not. He should have been starting.
But is he better than Carlos Hyde? That's the real question.
I think
Carson with the Browns. Unbelievable.
Are you talking sports in my house?
We're talking football.
Doing this?
Because she can.
You know the rule.
She can do it.
It's not allowed. Not allowed.
No sports talk?
No sports talk.
No
Save
sports
it. Save it for the sports pod.
Welcome to No Sports Talk. We're not talking sports.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, man.
Welcome.
Thank you. Are you at liberty to discuss your departure from Nerdist or no?
Yeah, we can talk about whatever you want. I mean,
We were doing that. We were doing that.
Oh, you guys were doing that beforehand.
Yeah, we were talking about it.
yeah, we were talking about it. I honestly, I was telling Steve I thought it would be a much more dramatic deal than it was.
Yeah.
I prepared the audience. I'm like, you guys. Okay, you know how sometimes it's not that I don't love you. Please, you have to
gotta break
understand.
up.
Sometimes
Yeah.
you just like people change,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
by the end of it, everyone was like, "Yeah, you're just changing the name. It's fine."
Right,
Like I think
right.
the fact that we didn't change the feed and people didn't have to resubscribe and they still get
Yes.
everything and it's still free and that everyone was, I tend to maybe be a little dramatic, but it all worked out fine.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me to hear that, like, along the way before, like when you sold it to Legendary, for instance, that there was more backlash then from fans who were like, wait, man, this was super indie.
No, and again, I thought that would be the case too, but I think, particularly at the time, Legendary this was 2012, so they were still like in the midst of Dark Knight trilogy,
Yeah.
and they had made the Hangover series, and
Still Tommy Tell world.
it was
the world of
still
Tommy
it was,
Tell.
it was still Tommy Tell.
And Beerfest. They made Beerfest.
They made Beerfest too.
did.
Of course, they made
Yeah,
Beerfest.
for the catering budget of
Yeah.
Superman. That's okay. But that's okay.
Well, now they have to do Beerfest returns.
Yeah, exactly.
So at the time that was another thing. But I honestly just think as long as you're communicative with your audience and say, because I said at the time, like, Legendary is buying Nerdist, it's mainly because I like them as a company. They seem to be fan focused, and
Yeah.
also they're necessary to grow it so we can make more stuff. I don't know if I'll be able to do this without them. And again, people were like, "Oh, okay,"
Yeah.
as long as you don't try to pull a fast one on anyone.
Forthcoming with everyone.
Then I think
Yeah.
people are cool. I think they just want to feel communicated with. That's all.
Yeah. People want honesty.
It's almost like they just want you to be straight with them,
Yeah.
and not try to,
Yeah.
to fuck them over in any way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you are trying to pull a fast one, then that usually means there's an ulterior motive, and you're trying to get something, and
Yeah.
rather than just
Yeah.
Sure. Why wouldn't you tell us the
exactly.
truth?
There's no reason. There's no reason at all. Why wouldn't I? Rather than just sharing information, and just kind of making it a part of it. I mean, how hardcore are the Broken Lizard fans? Are they pretty hardcore
Yeah.
in terms of like? Do you kind of feel to a degree like, oh, it's not really our thing. It's kind
Yeah.
of the audience's thing, and we kind of have to listen to them to how they. Or do you just go, oh, this is what it is, guys? Deal
Yeah.
with it.
No, I mean, we had that situation that you're talking about because when we crowdfunded the new movie,
Yep.
you got to realize the impact of the fans, right? So like they came out in droves and supported the movie, right, in the crowdfunding. But then you had to learn how not to, violate their trust.
Right.
And like you're saying, it was all about as long as you tell them everything that you're doing, they're not going to get pissed off at you.
Right.
Like in the past, there have been crowdfunding, campaigns that, we didn't tell them, well, this is what we're really doing, or this is
Right.
what we're really using the money for, or this is blah, 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 and then they turn on them.
Right.
But, what we learned, I think, was as long as you tell them,
Boy, that's
they're
so
okay.
tricky too, because and when people get upset, you can get very defensive right away. 'Cause you're like, why?
Sure.
Are you get? But then you realize, like, well, it's only because they care about what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not, they don't. They get upset not because they hate you. They get upset because they want to love
Yeah,
you.
'cause they're fans.
Because they're fans.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of curious to talk about. Because you get that enough just without people
Yes.
giving you money. But once they give you money, then they really have
Then they're
they have a
invested.
financial ownership
Yeah.
in it as well as an emotional ownership in it.
Yeah.
Well, it was cool because, like, I think because, we had this one level of the perks. One of them was you could come and for a certain amount of money, you could be an extra on the set and come visit the set.
Uh-huh.
And so, those people would come. We would have them come on the weekends, and I think it was like 100 people at a time. And I remember the very first weekend that they came, there were 100 people, and it's like I went out to speak to them. And right off the bat, it was like, hey, listen, we couldn't have made this movie without you guys. I mean, you're actually the people who put the first dollars in. And if it wasn't for you guys, and like you could feel your voice like starting to choke up.
Yeah.
And you're actually like, holy shit, like this is true. This isn't bullshit. But like these people actually made this movie happen.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at a person who I'm looking at 100 people who cobble together. Like, I mean, some people like missed car payments. Some people, you know, like
because they wanted to see that movie.
They
so
wanted
badly.
to see the movie, and like it was unpredictable how emotional, you know, one would become talking to these people. And then it was funny because like then you're like, oh, I'm the host here, so they're just kind of looking at me like nobody's going to interrupt me and try to take this over. So I was like, you know, regaling them with stories and everything, and our campaign manager came out in the middle of like a great story, and it was like, anybody want to take a picture with Rob Lowe? And everybody turned and bolted. I'm like about to lay down the punchline, and like, you know.
Okay, guys, we'll catch up with you later.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Wait, I'm almost done my story. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, Rob Lowe.
Sorry.
No, but like, you know, I think it's funny too because then people also, they're like, all right, so you're going to make this sequel. You can't fuck it up. So you need to bring the stoners back, and you need to do pullovers, and let's see, you got to have the bear fucker, and you got to have the German swingers come back.
So just remake the first one.
But then
again.
they're like, but don't just do the same shit you did the first time. And you're like,
I don't sell the same jokes.
Yeah.
then you're like, all right, I think we're not gonna listen to you guys.
So it reminds me of that episode. It reminds me of the episode, the Poochie episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah.
When they bring the kids in to focus group them, and they're like, "Who would like to see Itchy and Scratchy in far out worlds and locations?" And everyone says, "Yeah." Like, well, who would like to see Itchy and Scratchy deal with real problems like you face? And they'll go, "Yeah." And he's like, "You don't know what you want."
Yeah.
What do you want? You know, people want the same, but they want different.
Yeah, exactly. And those were the internal conversations we had.
And that was that's the pressure of when they invest in the movie. Then you really got to make sure you don't fuck it up,
Right.
You know, because then you lose your fan base. Then they're done.
I don't know if any of the extras are like they're shooting and they just go, "Excuse me, I hate to interrupt the scene. As an investor, I just wanted to give some notes. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't do that."
I mean, you know, that could have easy. We kind of there was that one scene where we kind of fucked him over in that.
We totally fucked him over.
Well, we did. It was a scene where it was like a town hall scene, and they're all in the audience, you know, and there was going to be good time for them to get FaceTime or whatever. And so there was a balcony in the town hall, and so we were like, why don't you put all the guys up in that balcony? And we'll get a nice shot of everyone in the balcony. And so we put them up there, and it ended up being the worst place because they didn't get on camera. And then at one point you went up there, and it was like 150 degrees up there.
Well, that's where the lights were.
Oh, so it turns out, you basically just put them in.
We put them with the lights.
Yeah, you just put them in like a 7-Eleven warming hot dog oven.
That's what we did.
Well, my go-to joke with those people is like, you know, I mean, basically you're paying to be part of the worst job on set. And every time I told that, everyone would laugh. They're like, it's true. Being an extra is terrible. But like, I tried to pull that with those people up in the balcony, and nobody laughed at it. Because, I mean, we wouldn't let them go either. Yeah. We were just holding them up there because, you know, we were on a tight shooting schedule.
Still there?
For continuity, they're still there.
Who knows?
Hey, whatever.
Who cares?
But in the editing room, we literally went back and put specific shots of them all.
Oh, good.
On purpose.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
How much? I mean, obviously, this is public information, but how much did you raise with the kicks? How much did you need, and how much did you raise?
Yeah, we had asked for $2 million, and you know, I think there's a philosophy to it where you ask for just what you need, and maybe a little less, so that if you achieve better, then it looks great.
Right.
And if you don't achieve that, then well, I guess you're fucked anyway.
Yeah.
But we ended up raising $4.5 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing. I mean, we met the guy who, like, he did the Veronica Mars campaign.
Yeah.
He did Reading Rainbow. He's the guru, Ivan Asquith, and you know,
He's
even,
the crowdfunding whisperer.
Yeah,
is what he is.
But even for him, it was kind of like it's still the great unknown, because you know, and so it's like you don't want to ask for too much because you don't want it to seem unattainable, where people are going to be like, oh, they'll never raise that. Why should I bother? You know, and you certainly don't.
There's
want
a science to it,
yeah,
which we didn't know anything about.
But they were,
we learned.
and he was still figuring it out. But you know,
and this guy was an MIT guy, numbers cruncher, and he set the campaign up, and he's an expert in how to do it.
And so, what other things, just for anyone else who's trying to crowdfund something, was it what drives it really? I mean, obviously, the foundation of it. There's a little bit of, you know, in your case, well, people are already fans.
Yep.
Yeah.
In some cases, like someone's putting up a thing that no one's ever heard of, so I'm sure that's a whole different set of challenges. But so they're fans, but you also have to create a good presentation,
Yep.
a good pitch, and then you have to have worthwhile tiered perks, I would imagine. So people go, okay, that's worth it, that's worth it, that's worth it. And then is it just constantly being engaged with the audience? What did you learn about that process?
I mean, a lot of it is like anything else in this business, is like it's publicity. It's like people can be fans of yours and they don't know that you're doing this campaign, so they don't go to it. It's like we have this funny thing, like we'll go do stand-up in a city, and you'll run into some guy in a bar. He's like, oh, my God, I'm the biggest fan, Super Troopers, blah, blah, blah. What are you doing here? It's like, oh, we're doing a stand-up show across the street. They didn't know, right. You know what I mean? And so it's the same way with this crowdfunding is like you could have this fan base, but you have to be able to activate the fan base, and you have to be able to push them to where they need to get their information from. Mm-hmm. And so, honestly, a lot of it was doing publicity. A lot of it was getting the word out that this campaign exists, and then people go to it.
But there also is backlash, because that's one of the things we talked about in advance is that like there's going to be a percentage of people who are like, oh, look at these rich Hollywood assholes who are asking us to spend our money instead of spending their money, and you're like, it's not really. Like, we actually can't afford to finance our own movie.
Right.
Not
everyone in Hollywood has access to millions.
That's right.
Yeah. And so.
And if they did, they would invest in a Super Troopers.
Yeah. Because it's terrible.
Well, that's what got people nervous is I think people were worried that the studio system was going to take advantage of Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Especially on the heels of the Veronica Mars thing, where they're like, oh, well, studios are just going to exploit people for money that they just don't feel like spending. I mean, you're obviously... you're dudes, so you're not a giant studio. Yeah. But I didn't really get the sense that ended up happening. Like the studio
didn't necessarily. But I think we knew coming up. Like I think Zach Braff had that problem right before we went, and I think he raised money with the intention of getting more money from studios and that kind of stuff. And then, but I think it's the people who contributed didn't understand that. And they thought that, they took their money and then went to the studios. Mm-hmm. And I think we were kind of, again, forthcoming to everyone of like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this money and use it to get the thing going,
And we had, unfortunately for Zach Braff, we had some of his pitfalls to learn from. I mean, and that's what I mean, like sort of like the great unknown. Like each of these successful crowdfunding campaigns were another case study for what we should be doing, because there weren't that many of them. Done at that point, and so
But the good thing also was the studio wasn't involved with us because they weren't sure if it was going to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's why we crowdfunded in the first place, and so I think they were very hands off in terms of being associated with the movie, and they kind of said, hey, you don't have to say that we're involved here. You know what I mean? And so I think it felt very independent. And then once we raised the money, then the studio was like, hey, maybe you could say that we're involved too. We're in on this.
Well, yeah, and then also, in Zach's defense too, because it was still so kind of new, new in terms of
nobody knew.
Raising money on that scale. But it's not like. It's not like, oh, everyone just has millions of dollars that they can spend, and it's not even just the money part, but being able to raise the financing yourself allows you a lot of creative control.
Yeah.
Which is, a large reason why a writer, creator would want to do it. And so, I don't think, specifically in his case, I don't think he was like, I can't wait to take advantage of,
not at all.
It wasn't that at all. It was like, oh, this seems like a way that I can raise enough money to be able to have the creative control to prove that there's an audience for this. And then, I don't know, maybe it just, something went a little screwy.
It's also like just not the perception of the people. Like,
right.
I think that was something that none of us never
You were on a hit show. You probably have $50 million. Why are you? And the truth is, not everyone on a show has $50 million. It's just the economics of it. I mean, I think I'm not asking you to feel sorry for anyone who works in the entertainment business, because we're all very privileged people. But, as you guys know, about 80% of everything you make goes to other people.
Yeah.
50% of it goes to taxes. 25% goes to representatives. Another 5% can go to like publicists and whatever. And so I always make the joke, like, if you want to make a shit ton of money, you have to make a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
And so the numbers involved with getting rich in the entertainment business have to be so astronomically high, just because there's just so many people that take pieces of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not crying about it. I'm just saying that's just the reality.
And also, I think people don't necessarily appreciate the way the financing of film distribution works either. Where like people were for years were just like, hey, just raise like $1 million and go shoot the movie, put it out yourself.
Come on.
You know what I mean? Like, just do it.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, first of all, like in today's day and age, it takes like at least $10 to $15 million to distribute a movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
On top of what it costs to make the movie, the P&A, you have to go raise this amount of money in order to make that in the system. And so I think people don't appreciate the amount of money that you need to do in order to push the ball. And so,
which is what basically is like getting into theaters and marketing and all that
advertising.
stuff.
You know, that the spending on advertising is, and there's so much stuff in the market these days where it's like the weekend we come out, which is April 20th. It's like The Rock has a movie the weekend before, and then The Avengers comes out the weekend after. You know what I mean? So just to sneak in there and try to make some noise, you have to spend some money.
But I think Super Troopers 2 is excellent counter programming for that stuff. Especially because you might also benefit from the spillover of sold-out Avengers screenings.
And we're looking forward.
We're hoping for that.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's like, I can't go see Avengers. Oh, that's Super Troopers. Let's go see that.
Come on, let's go see that.
Yeah, in the theater.
But originally it was us versus The Rock. Rampage was going to be on April 20th.
Got it.
And then
you got scared, right?
Avengers, yeah.
He smelled what the Broken Lizard was cooking.
That's right.
Took him out.
And it smelled good. No, but like
they got afraid of Avengers.
Avengers moved up one week,
moved, right? And so Rampage moved, and then we were sitting all alone there.
Yeah, for a minute, and then Amy Schumer jumped on our weekend because she was scared of something. I don't know what she was scared of, but
Avengers.
They jumped on ours.
It is really, and I think it's hard for people to really understand because the entertainment business does not work like any other conventional business.
Yeah,
and so people just think very linearly, like, you raise the money, you make it, and then it's awesome.
Right.
Like, no, there's so many structures.
You buy cars.
There's so many structures in place. Like here's an analogous example. A lot of times people go, "Hey, instead of touring where you have to go to a theater where you have to go to Ticketmaster where we have to pay all these fees, why don't you just rent a space in our town and just go?" You go, "Okay,
I know a theater,"
but you have to understand you would have to cover the insurance, you have to cover all the ticketing costs, you have to cover the if it's a union house, you have to cover all the union fees for the house, and so it's almost financially oppressive that only the top handful of performers can actually
do that,
can really do it.
Yeah.
Or you just have to jump down to just go perform in a bar,
right?
Where you can just roll into a bar and then it's easy. Just go do your thing over there.
Sure.
But if you want to do it in any kind of an organized way, it's surprisingly more complicated than you just think. The internet, you just do that. But not everything just works that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, and also, that was one thing we got was another version, which is why don't they just raise $1 million like the first one and just do it without the studio? But the fact is the studio owned it. We couldn't do that. And people say, why don't they take it to another studio? We're like, well, no, because the studio owns it.
We can't. They don't just give you.
Yeah, we can't. And they've said that they will never let Super Troopers free to go to another studio.
Which is funny, isn't it, too? Because you get frustrated because you think of, obviously, big studios, businesses don't really operate like people. And so a person would go, well, if I'm not going to use this, I'll just give this to you. But the studio's like, no. Are you ever going to make this? No. Well, can I have it? No.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to give up any IP. They're not in the business of giving up IP. And on a certain level, if they give it up and then you go make $100 million with it, then a bunch of people get fired. How did you let this go?
Who made that decision?
Yeah. So they just studios and companies are just not in the habit of just handing over IP, even if they don't ever intend to use it.
Yeah, and and then the truth is, in terms of even what we were raising for the campaign, was that they said, we'll allow you to do this if you raise the production money, also the P&A money, which was not something we mentioned while we were doing the crowdfunding campaign. And they set certain floors. I won't say what the floors were, but they were well above what we were asking for. And so, in fact, to the tune of some pretty, the P&A budget is oftentimes
just
bigger than
what P&A is.
Prints and advertising, which is literally the print is the copy of the movie, but it's the advertising.
It is those distribution costs. It's like advertising, and prints, and theaters, and
that's why you never can look at the budget of a movie like a $5 million. Like when Get Out came out, I think Get Out was probably around a $5 million movie.
Yeah.
Like, $5 million movie made $250 million, which it still is way profitable. But it probably costs I'm guessing $25 or $30 million.
Absolutely.
Once it seemed to be trending in the direction of people seem to be interested in this, and they start putting a little more money into it to promote it, and then all of a sudden it's now they've spent 5 times the amount of what the movie costs just to make sure that people know about it.
Just to make a splash.
Yeah.
There's also a reality to crowdfunding, which we only discovered once we had done it, which is that whatever you gross in the money raise, a lot of that is still going to go to satisfying the perks. They're going to be made for the backers. Also, paying for the manpower. Also, we were getting close to the end of the year, and we still hadn't raised the rest of the money to shoot the film. And then the news was broken to us like, no, you have to shoot this thing, otherwise the government is going to take half of this money.
You have to pay taxes on that crowdfunding.
Oh,
money.
shit.
Yeah. So it's like if you don't spend it before the year's over, then you're giving it back to the government.
And when did you find that out?
We found it out. We found it after the
1st.
raise.
Yeah.
After the raise, and it was like it was around September or something like that. I was like, shit, we got to go
Holy
start
shit.
moving.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so we went and we shot like the first 8 days of the movie. And spent a good amount of that money so that we didn't lose it to taxes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Well, this is the amazing thing.
That's the shit you learn that you don't know.
Yeah, and it goes back to the fan who's like,
Good to pay taxes? Oh shit!
why don't you go to like Richard Branson and just get him to finance it or something like that?
of dollars.
Yeah.
What's $5 million?
Yeah, like even with the success of the crowdfunding campaign, the studio was now very much aware of the movie, and okay, the fans are out there again, but we could not find investors. And so it wasn't until we actually shot the movie, put the footage together, which basically turned out to be like the first 20 pages of the movie, and then started showing it around, that then investors started showing up the following year, and we were able to put the money.
And what was it that the investors needed specifically, and how did showing them footage get them on board?
I think just the excitement of seeing that it was funny. You know what I mean? That it wasn't old or retread, or that there was something to it that they thought, like anything else, they want to make.
Which is not surprising. I mean, when we shot the first one, the script to all the major studios. George Clooney was one of our executive producers, and he had us in there with the president of every studio, and they would say, well, first they would say like, so is George going to be in the movie? And we're like, unfortunately,
no, he's not.
And they're like, okay, and how much you guys want? $5 million. And who's acting in it? We are. And who's directing it? I am. And then they would say,
But you did it once already.
Yeah.
Well, no, but this was the first one, and they would say, look at this scene here. It's all these guys saying meow to each other.
Oh, right, gotcha.
We don't. That's funny. Like we don't.
Oh, you have to see it.
And I mean, literally, and that's just what happens. Is people read your script and they're like, and the deal was actually pretty good for investors.
Right.
It was a really good deal for
the second
investors.
one.
For the second one
Yeah.
now. And we'd show it to these guys and say quite frankly to their faces, you're never going to get a deal this good again. If you're in independent film financing, this is the best offer you're ever going to get. And I stand by that. I think it's true. And everybody, P&A people too, just said no.
But the interesting thing about that was because the landscape had changed, right? So the first Super Troopers made the bulk of its money on DVDs.
Yeah.
Now the DVD market doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So the studios were like, okay, let's look at let's see. So it made all the money in this column. This column doesn't exist, and we haven't figured out how to fill that gap yet. Whether it's on demand or whatever, they just don't make the same kind of money as they did in DVD.
Right.
And so to them, that money stream is gone. And so as they're making a decision whether to do the sequel, they take that into consideration.
So they figure they go, well, how are people going to? Because I'm sure it's probably not great for them financially if people are getting all their stuff through, I don't know, iTunes or Amazon or whatever. I'm sure those companies are taking a nice chunk of that for putting it on their streaming on their platforms.
Yeah, but in DVD world, they would make a DVD for like 15 cents,
right,
and they sell it for $20,
right,
and then they make a shitload of money off of
right.
it, And so that stream doesn't exist anymore, and so what are they going to do? And are they going to make a bet on us with that stream gone? That's the question.
The DVD guys?
Yeah. And so it's like, well, let's go. So that was what the crowdfunding thing was. Let's go to crowdfunding and prove that the audience is out there. And that's what ended up working.
Yeah, it's worked out. But and
it's all good because the movie got made.
The movie got made. But, but all the way through, I think 3 different times the plug, nobody knew this, but the plug almost got pulled because there's always some shuckster out there who says he's got the money for you and you're rolling forward. And then at the last second, they're like, they're essentially saying we thought we could have raised the money. This independent financier is like, I thought I could have done it, but I can't do it, so I'm pulling out. And all of a sudden, you're $2 million short again, and you're like, if we don't raise $2 million by tomorrow, we're going to pack it up and go home. And somebody's going to have to go to Rob Lowe's trailer and say, hey, sorry, this was a tremendous waste of time. Yeah, that happened a few times.
Someone's going to have to pull him out of his oxygen chamber.
Yeah.
Whatever's keeping him beautiful.
Because he's beautiful.
He's stunning.
He is. He told me a secret, though.
What?
He said we rolled into an ADR session. It was like 9 o'clock in the morning, and we looked like shit, and he looked great. Like he came in, he looked great, and we're like, "What's your thing? How do you do this?" He said, "You don't know my secret? 10 hours of sleep a night."
What?
10 hours of sleep a night. That's what he
I
said.
can't sleep more than 4. What am
I know, but
supposed
that's
to do?
his thing.
Yeah.
He said, hey, make the 10 hours for yourself, and you'll look like this.
Yeah, you should also have told him. You should have been like, it also helps to be born looking like you,
Yeah.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't.
Yeah,
Maybe he wasn't.
Having porcelain jeans.
Yeah.
is also very helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the Pony Boy days, maybe that's true. Now, I mean, I don't know.
God damn it.
He is still very good looking.
He's so good looking.
You just reminded me too. Fuck. I think I've been doing a joke with Meow in it. God damn it.
We didn't corner the market on meow jokes.
but you
I just
kind
want you to know that.
Now I have an ethical problem if I keep doing this joke or not. It's because it's basically about how I've been like when I first started dating my wife. The cat didn't like me.
Yeah.
And he would throw up on my feet. And so it just kind of goes to this thing about how she leaves and he throws up on my feet and then he paces back and forth, but it ends with him going, "Where's your god, meow?" Yeah. So
See,
I
but
know
no,
you don't-
I mean, we don't,
But you know what? And you've been forthcoming with us.
I was saying that. Oh my God! You just brought it back.
Yeah.
You just brought it back to what we were talking about right at the beginning.
Honesty.
you have Steve's blessing.
That's what
Yeah.
I crowdfunded the.
Yeah.
But I do think this world where. People do have the ability to reach their audience directly, and also like this hybrid version of like, well, we're working with fans, but we're also working with corporate structures.
Yeah.
And how do we keep everybody happy? I mean, we are still in this strange frontier of it all. And is it something that you would do again, or do you feel like, that whole process was too
I don't
stressful
know.
that way?
It was pretty
hard.
grueling. It was pretty grueling. And
I mean,
it's-
whatever, all in context. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, that's what-
we were
that's
digging
what-
ditches, but it was like,
That's what happens. It's like this douchey Hollywood thing. It's like you sit there and grouse about how hard you're working, how hard you're begging. That's
Right.
basically what it is. And because one of the
but
things.
also what you're promising. It's like, the amount of time and things that you do to meet the obligations can become too expensive. I mean, it becomes
right.
it's not,
Yeah. I mean, we tried, we did try to not just beg. Like, we looked at various campaigns and stuff. Like, some people would just put up one video and be like, hey, give us money.
Right.
And we actually, we specifically said, let's put something new up every single day. And so, we filmed that over the course of a few days, but, like, there was a new like, vignette every single day for the campaign.
For how many?
So-
For all 30 days?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But also, I mean, we made deals we made a deal with Fandango where people could actually buy an advance ticket to the movie, which is a
cool.
new thing. Like, people hadn't done that before
Yeah,
us.
that was a partnership
And so
with Fandango.
It was actually like you're actually getting a little something for your, your
The perks were good. I mean, it was surprising though. Like, we offered, I think was it $35,000 for the squad car?
Yeah.
And that went in the first few hours,
Holy shit.
which was shocking. We had a $25 million prize where we would we would sire a child.
Didn't work out.
Nobody bought that one.
Nobody bought it.
No.
Well, they were concerned because you wouldn't know who the real father was.
Well,
It'd be one of 5 guys.
Yeah, in advance.
And if
you
the
would've known.
kid came out Indian, you'd know who it was. Or if the kid was fat, you know who it was.
Well, we wondered what would happen if you shook it up, like if it would come out like short, fat, and brown.
Mix all of
yeah,
it.
mix all together.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Hideous.
But didn't happen.
No, but we bought
It
it.
is broken lizard, Frankenstein monster.
Yeah. It would have been hideous.
I'm sure someone out there is like, I know what I'm going to do. I don't know who this character is, by the way.
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait until after the movie's done, and I'm going to fuck those guys for free.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
gonna
don't
do.
need to pay them $25 million.
I'll have that baby. I don't
Yeah.
Okay.
It all fucked.
Hey, oh, come on! Anybody wants a shot at this?
Yeah, come on.
Hey, come on.
But I mean, you know too. I mean, you walk that tightrope too of fandom and corporate structure, and how to get the word out. And
Yeah,
get
but
your
I've
stuff out there.
But it's rare that I've ever. I mean, I guess when you perform live, you're asking people for money because they're paying
Sure.
to come see a show. But in terms of like I've always wanted the podcast to be free.
Yeah.
And even if I ever did a premium version of the podcast that like didn't have ads or anything, sponsorships and anything in it, I would never take away the free version from people because I just, I don't. I think there's a difference between seeing people as like a well of money to try to dig out of, and then seeing your community of fans as like, okay, well, if you want me to make this, then I need this to make this, and if you don't want that, no problem.
Yeah.
But just not. I think it really boils down to like just not looking at them as wallets or that you can
absolutely.
exploit.
And the great thing is going around and being able to meet the people. Like, I don't know if you remember this. There was that one time we were coming from a show, we're walking through an airport. It's probably in Chicago or Detroit, like somewhere really fucking cold. And we're walking through one of those one of those airport hallways, and all of a sudden like the door opens from the outside and the fucking wind blows in, and some guy comes in one of those like snow covered, the guy who was on the tarmac, the baggage, whatever it is, and he walks in and he looks at us, he goes, "Oh my God, you guys!" And we're like, "Hey," and he goes, "I donated to your campaign. I'm so excited for the movie." Shit. And you're like, "Holy shit!" And here's a guy, works hard. He's out in the fucking cold, and he comes in, but still, he contributed to your campaign.
Yeah.
And those are the moments you're like, "Holy shit, thank you!" And that's an amazing connection.
It's the one thing Nody prepared us for was that moment that happens over and over again. Whether it's 100 people showing up on the set or that guy.
Yeah.
It happens a lot now in the most random places, the most random people. Literally, I mean, they just come up to you and say it,
and that's the beauty of the crowdfunding thing is to run into these people who, they're your fans and they want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? That's the great thing.
And it's funny. It's like we do a meet and greet after every one of our live shows, and people come to the shows, and they're always there. There's a bunch of people online who I'll see them talking to Kevin, and then he'll say, Indiegogo, and then you're like, hey, and you feel, you're connected to them. You're really connected to them.
Well, yeah, because it is, it's amazing enough if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I really like your thing. You're like, oh my God, that was so nice. Thank you for saying it. But it's another thing if someone is going to separate themselves from their very hard-earned money and go, I believe in you this much that, whatever I had, even if it was like $10 here, that's an incredible statement, especially in this world where so many different things are asking people for their money, and it's so easy to spend money now with just your goddamn phone in your pocket.
And there's so much different entertainment that you can get, and different ways to whatever, make yourself happy.
Yeah, no, we've had people who are like, we gave multiple times. I would get my paycheck and put this much money as much as I could down, and then a couple weeks later I get this paycheck, I put a little more down, and you're like, oh my God, I can't hear this anymore. Like it's breaking my heart, but
so nice.
It's unbelievable.
So we spent $100,000 on the movie and got $4 million worth of great blowjobs in Amsterdam.
Yeah, boom! Thank you for your money. Thank you for your contribution.
Well, but the problem is, that's the insidious side of crowdfunding is shit like that has happened, and so I'm sure it's not. I'm sure that Kickstarter and Indiegogo and places like that have, figured out as much as they can how to dissuade that kind of, that kind of behavior.
We heard stories about people got sued who didn't, meet their obligations, and they took the money and went and did something else. That stuff happens,
Yeah. But one of our philosophies always has been, our producer, Rich Perello, is the guy who produced all of our movies. And he runs a morally tight ship.
Good.
And it's really important because, in the film industry, there are a million productions that have people, they die because of these, investors that haven't been properly vetted or they're promising one thing over here, saying, hey, I got this guy, give me some money. We have run into that.
Sure.
But thankfully, we run a very righteous ship, and I think that helps us. Yeah.
Says you, Lemme.
Oh, hey,
come on.
Hey, when are you going to put this sperm in me?
Come on.
We're going Amsterdam.
Let's go. Come on, let's make me a baby.
It was the same guy.
Same guy.
Yeah,
might be a girl. I don't know. Might be a girl.
Think of the same guy, lady.
Yeah, who could be? Could be. I don't know.
We're not trying to.
Who knows? Who cares?
Yeah, it's not important.
Yeah.
It's not important to the story.
That doesn't.
Yeah.
It's the money that counts.
It's the money and the
sperm. Yeah. And the sperm. Yeah.
And mixing it all together.
Yeah. What do you get?
Broken lizard cocktail, baby. That's all.
But luckily, it's good. The movie came out. Katie Levine saw a rough cut. Right? Good, right?
Great.
That could. Oh, did you see the rough cut?
Yeah.
I just got it sent to me like a day ago.
Oh, you did?
So I'm going to watch it too.
Somebody sent you the movie?
You've got the final cut.
Oh, I do have the final cut.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good for you,
But
man.
the next Broken Lizard movie, by the way, is that one person is like, okay, I want to have a baby, and I'm going to give all of you guys a shot at it.
Right.
And you all just compete for whoever the dad is.
Who's the most virile?
Yeah, who's the
comes
virile.
down to.
And even afterwards, you don't know until the baby's born. That's
right.
kind of the reveal.
Yeah.
It's like a reality show.
Yeah.
Reality
Yeah,
show.
exactly.
I would win.
What?
I'm like Luke Skywalker with the Death Star, like one shot, boom,
It's right in the air vent?
pregnant,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
pregnant.
Bam.
Yeah.
That's your special power.
Yeah. I'm like 10 for 10.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've had sex 10 times.
I have, and every
10
time.
kids.
Every time they're
Yeah.
pregnant.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's
I'm the
pretty
guy who gets blown up as he's
Yeah.
pull out,
Yeah. Well,
Is
and
that Porkins?
Yeah, I think it's Porkins. Actually, somebody sent me
Porkins.
the Porkins,
So
like a
terrible.
Porkins poster with Farva's face on the Porkins thing. It's like the Porkins with the helmet. You know what I mean? It's like Porkins. It's the bottom of it.
Thank you.
And I was like, okay, I'll take it.
Thank you, man.
Certainly an iconic moment from my childhood.
Yeah.
I give it to you.
When does the movie actually come out? I know it's the Avenger. Oh, so it's
4/20.
April 4/20. Oh my
See,
God.
Clever.
that was Fox's idea. 4/20.
You guys.
But they came up with that idea last year when the movie was completed.
We finished the movie last summer. And then they're like, we had a great idea. 4/20 falls on a Friday in 2018. And we're like, yeah, but that's 8 months from now.
But 2018
like,
is
let's do it
next year.
Let's do it. And they're like, okay. And we're like, all right. And we were like, ah. But it turned out to be kind of the right thing. Because
No, it's nice. It's a holiday weekend for us, basically. They've created a holiday weekend event.
But also, we're the redheaded stepchild of Fox Searchlight. Like, Fox Searchlight, they have all their award movies, Shape of Water and 3 Billboards. Those are all their movies. And they have to do...
Shape of Masturbating in Water.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they have to do all that shit up the award seasons. And we get lost in the show. Now they're done with the award seasons, and we're sitting here.
That's what's so great is that there are probably no expectations, like in the sense of, hey, you know what, you guys raised a chunk of the money. They're so focused on other stuff.
Yeah.
But if your movie sneaks through and makes $100 million, it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah,
hey,
good
nice
for
job.
them.
Well, I mean, I know that's been happening. We released the trailer, and it got 50 million views in a week.
Jesus.
Which was something that caught everybody by surprise.
Right,
I mean,
including Fox.
Yeah, it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous that should happen. But like, I think the biggest thing is that they are. It's almost like the movie Room. Mm-hmm. Like they get released. They're
After award season.
Well, it's like literally, it's like they do Guillermo del Toro movies and like all these very classy highbrow projects. Cut to us with the Searchlight PR team at WWE 2 days ago, front row in Indianapolis, and like the PR girls, they're like, "This is the best!
Yeah,
look at Randy Orton's thighs."
By the way, let's just take a step back, though. You said very classy, and I'm not gonna take away from what you said, but Super Troopers, movie about a bunch of cops coming together to do a thing.
Yeah.
Shape of Water, lady fucks a swamp monster.
Right.
So what
You're right.
sounds
You're right,
classier
yeah.
on paper?
You're right.
If you're thinking about
Fish
it.
fucking
No,
or
in fact, you're
fish fucking or Super Troopers.
yeah.
Well, America's law enforcement,
Right.
or fish fucking.
Yeah, or
fucking.
Grinding Nemo is what it's been called. Grinding Nemo. Yeah. No, it's true. Hey, look, Slumdog. We got slammed. We always get slammed. They're like, oh yeah, potty humor. It's masturbation. It's shit jokes. We haven't done one shit joke. Slumdog Millionaire. That kid wound up.
Fox Searchlight movie.
Fox Searchlight movie. He wound up like in an outhouse covered in shit, and it won an Oscar.
Yeah. So
We've never done a shit joke.
The funny thing, remember this weekend, or this past couple days ago, we were doing a WWE cross promotion event in Indianapolis, and they send our uniforms out there, right? So we're putting our uniforms on. We're in the locker room putting our uniforms on to do something with the WWE guys, and the Fox people are there, and we're like, I bet Doug Jones didn't bring his fish suit around. Is that his name, Doug Jones?
Doug Jones,
Yeah,
yeah.
didn't bring his fish suit with him. And they're like, as a matter of fact, he did.
Yep.
He brought his fish suit with him on all the promotional events, and he puts it on. And we're
puts
like,
it
what?
on.
Really?
Oh, wow.
We didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Really?
so
Yeah.
that's all makeup. We just put on the
Put a fish
okay.
suit, and then he gets laid.
Yeah.
Then he gets action.
Yeah.
So let me just pitch another idea to you guys,
Give it
because
to
I'm
us.
sure this has been pitched to you a million times before you've thought about it. This is for the third installment.
Okay.
Super Troopers
Yeah.
meets Reno 911.
Okay. Okay. We
Okay.
can do that.
Just the mashup.
we put the shorts on.
And then
The dangle shorts, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He wears the short shorts.
Yeah.
Dangle wears the short shorts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like because in this world of bringing in the tying all the Avengers movies, like all the universes
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
I think
cop comedy universe.
universe thing. That would be like Avengers versus X-Men. Kind
Sure.
of thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
It needs it. It wants it.
And I think. And how do you escalate it? How do you keep escalating? It's not like you can go, well, the third one, they're in space, or they go to Europe, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
it's gotta be a Super
Sure.
Troopers versus
it
Reno
could be a great
911.
crossover thing. I'm open to that.
Yeah,
I'm open to that.
And we visit, we go up to a log cabin to visit our mentors. It's the police academy guys.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
God damn it! You just fucking God damn it! It's Michael
And Michael Winslow making
and
sounds
There
and
he
stuff.
is.
Yeah.
Fucking Gutenberg
Right.
is Mahoney.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! You just blew my goddamn mind.
there it is. No, that was a group effort. That was a group
God
effort.
damn it! And
good
the
call.
bummer part about that is that this kind of an idea, just to let people know how things work, and I'm 100% serious that you should try to do this, but You get lawyers on the phone, and these are lawyers who couldn't give a shit about any of these properties.
Absolutely.
And they'll be like, well, no, we should own the whole thing. You didn't even care about this before we talked about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Don't you just want cool things to exist?
No, they'll just kill it dead.
No, they'll just it'll die in the BA floor.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, ultimately, you have to have the studio do it. That's what happened was when we did Beerfest, and at the end of Beerfest, we made a joke, coming soon, Podfest.
Right.
And so it was just a joke that we put there because Willie Nelson's in the last scene with us, and that was a funny joke, haha. And then after the movie came out, we started getting all these phone calls from people that they wanted to know if it was real. And we're talking about like people like Snoop Dogg and Cheech and Chong and 50 Cent.
50, yeah.
Woody Harrelson and Willie, and they're like, "Are you guys really making this movie? Because let's get together and let's all make this movie."
And
we're like,
why did it never happen?
And because Warner Brothers owned the idea, and Warner Brothers doesn't make pop movies.
Got it.
And this is like pre-Hangover, so like they didn't even make rated R movies. Then they made Harry Potter and whatever it was. So and then we ended up
has pot in it, technically.
I know Harry Potter.
You're right.
Then we sold another version of it to Universal, and they couldn't get it past their corporate structure. So it ended up just kind of falling by the wayside.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
It's been fun.
Well,
the cannonball run of pop movies.
But if Super Troopers 2 does well at the box office, then I think there'll probably be some conversations.
it's a new culture these days,
Everything's changed.
New weed culture these days.
Yeah, since we've had those talks.
Yeah.
And we'll see. But it's funny, too, because now, literally we're in the press ramp-up for Super Troopers 2, and on Twitter, it's just like, okay, but when's Potfest coming out? We're like, dude, it's taken us 10 years to get this movie made. People are like,
good enough.
Well, how about Potfest? We're like, I don't know. Okay, sure.
It's really hard to make this one. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
What's the next thing
I
coming?
don't care about that.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen it yet. I don't care.
You just said you were going to make it.
Do it.
It's like at the end of History of the World Part 1, they teased History of the World Part 2.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks never made it.
I know.
I always wanted to see Jews in space.
Me too. God.
Yeah.
They never made it.
Should have.
There's the flying star of David Starcraft.
Yeah.
Remember the...
Yeah.
We actually been watching Spaceballs lately in my house.
Oh yeah, with the kids.
With the 3-year-old and the 6-year-old.
Okay.
And they're into it, and it's such a reminder of how lovely a person Mel Brooks is. I see him at my local steakhouse. I've got a local steakhouse out there in the valley.
Right.
And I see him, a few booths down every now and then.
Right.
And it's like, it's a magical thing.
Can I show you something? And I've never done this before, but I'm going to run upstairs on the podcast. And I'm gonna because I want to. I feel like I want to show this to you.
Okay. Should we talk amongst ourselves?
Is he gonna walk in here with the Rick Moranis helmet on or no?
Oh my! The giant Rick Moranis
Yeah,
helmet?
the giant, the black helmet.
You know what we should do though?
Yeah.
Is just talk mad sports while he's gone.
This is when Katie Levine gets to break out. Hardwick's gone.
Okay.
Katie Levine can talk about sports as much as she wants to talk about sports.
God, I mean, the running backs are moving all over the NFL. All over the NFL.
Disrupting the teams.
I know.
I truly love it.
I know.
There's not going to be any way that it's not the same player.
The Giants just signed Jonathan Stewart. I'm not excited.
That's fine, but
that's
Browns
okay.
are getting Carlos Hyde.
I know it.
Frank Gore is Frank Gore going someplace?
Detroit. He's like,
Okay.
And so then,
Yeah, so then
the
Lando-
San Francisco 49ers said, hey,
Oh, look at that!
Oh, it is!
Look at that!
Holy crap! I was joking that might be. Oh wow!
Wait a
Inside
second.
by Rick Moranis.
Yeah, no.
And is that the real one?
Yes.
That's the real one.
Yes.
Signed by Mel Brooks and Rick
Yes.
Moranis.
I bought it at an auction last year, and Mel's son Max is a friend of mine. I said, I'm trying to buy a dark helmet at an auction. He goes,
Oh, my
if
God.
you get it, I'll get my dad to sign it.
Oh,
and
my
so,
God.
and then when Mel signed it, then Rick had been on the podcast, so I reached out to him when I was going to New York, and he was like, sure, and he came and signed it too. So.
Oh my God! I need to take a picture of you with that on your head.
Sure,
With
yeah.
you on that head.
Well, I'm definitely going to do that.
Now, so it's not the kind of thing that you can. Yeah, you can't mail that to Rick Moranis. You have to arrange a meeting.
Yes.
For Rick Moranis to come and put that.
Yes.
Sign that.
Yes, I traveled with
crap.
it.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I can't believe you just walked out. I was like, he's got Rick Moranis' helmet up there or something. And then boom.
I mean, that's an iconic piece of
It is, and it's
cinema
in really
history.
Good, it's in really good shape, too.
How many? I mean, I don't mean to, but how many of those do you think were made? Like probably 3 or 4 of them ever were sitting there. In the.
I honestly think
one.
it might just be the one.
Really?
Because you can see that. I mean, you can see the inside of the that it's been worn.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard. And you see it, how it's all set up and the gaff tape and everything.
Yeah.
I really don't think there were. I think this might have been it.
So now, okay, so you purchase that at an auction, you say?
Yeah.
And then what happens next? Like you go home with it. how many days do you wear that? Do you wear it out in public?
On Halloween, if you weren't Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, what happens next?
In sexual situations with the wife.
Yeah, come on.
Does she put it on?
She puts.
Hey, put the helmet on, baby.
Because that's really
baby,
what you
put the helmet
want,
on.
right? Yeah.
Baby, put the helmet on.
Yeah.
Just lift it up and say you can't breathe in this thing. Please, come on. Just
Do
the
I
line.
have to
the
do
line.
it again? Do I have
please.
to? Come on.
Ludicrous
Really?
speed, please. Just say ludicrous speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it is now it's in a box, but because I'm trying to figure out how to display it.
Right.
And there's a company that makes some props that we've bought some movie props from, and I showed it to them, and they go, "We can make a bust of Rick Moranis' head.
That's perfect.
And display it on that, so you could keep it closed, but if you flip it up, then you just see his face underneath. So I think that might be the way to go, but it ultimately
great.
should be, like in a display case.
Yeah. Sure. And now, how many times have you said this is the first time you've busted this out on the podcast, or I mean?
Well, it's the first time that I've left the podcast microphones to go do something.
Get it
right.
And then, but you mentioned Spaceballs, and it was one floor up, so I had to bring it.
Right.
I had to bring it down. Yeah, it is. It's kind of funny, but again, this kind of ties back into the idea of fandom, because if you're around our age, this helmet means so much to a certain sector of us. But anyone else would be like, what the fuck would you pay money for that for?
Yeah.
Like, anyone
Who cares?
else would just have no concept
Yeah.
of what this
Yeah.
is or why
Yeah.
I would
I think
do that.
Spaceball gets better with age. By the way,
Yeah.
It's great.
I really, like watching it with my kids. I was like, I hadn't watched it in a long time,
Right.
and it was so much better than I remembered it being.
You still have a thing for Daphne Zuniga, or what?
I mean, Daphne's it started with the Sure Thing.
Yes, of course.
Daphne
Of course
Zuniga.
it started with the sure thing.
For me, she was spectacular.
Sure.
She is spectacular.
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
when she joined the Screen Actors Guild, I was like, the board. Or no, I'm thinking of Gabriella Carteris. But
Okay, don't get mixed up.
Did you start showing up to SAG meetings all of a sudden? Like,
Hey,
Yes.
Daphne Zuniga.
but I was just curious if I could ask.
well, that actually happened when we were making the Slam and Salmon.
Yeah.
The SAG strike was looming.
Right.
And the writer's strike was ongoing at that moment, and we had Morgan Fairchild in the movie, and she was on the Screen Actors Guild board. Mm-hmm. And so she was telling me, we were on set, she was telling me about all the sort of like the ins and outs of the looming strike and everything. And
Couldn't have been more boring.
Yeah, so boring. Yeah. And they were like, hey, we're rolling. And so we had to whisper then. And so she continued talking about the strike to me, but in my ear very quietly. And I could feel her hot breath.
Morgan Fairchild.
Yeah, and her lips sometimes would touch my earlobe. And it was lucky. I mean, we were playing waiters, so I had a check presenter tucked into my apron.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Which was, keeping me at bay, but it was a hot moment.
I mean, that is one of there's just kind of weird moments like that where you're like, is this real? Am I alive? Is this really a thing, or did I die?
That was one. And when we made Club Dread, when Bill Paxton tapped me on the shoulder, and I looked at him, and he was like, he indicated to me to look down. I looked down, and his dick was out. and he said, and he goes, beef, it's what's for dinner. And at that moment, I was like,
Doing a Sam Elliott impersonation?
Yeah, doing Sam Elliott.
Who he was in Tombstone with?
yeah.
God damn it.
And at that moment, I was saying to myself, when I was like 15, 16 years old, watching Weird Science and loving Chet.
Yeah.
Loving Chet. Did I ever think, like, 25 years from now or whatever, I'm going to look at his dick? I'm going to be staring, and he's going to say, beef, it's what's for dinner.
And he's going to be doing a bit.
Yeah.
It's not just looking at it.
Yeah.
There's a bit.
It's the main character in his bit.
Now, my question is, because I've never done a dick bit like that, where it's just that.
Sure.
So, what's the dismount, right? So once you go, he was up for dinner. Do you guys go, but then he still has to like tuck it away and zip up the what's the dismount?
Yeah,
on
so
that?
anyway.
Politics, am I right, or whatever?
Yeah.
This one is that he pulls out his dick. He pulls out his dick and then matches it, right?
Yeah. Well, beef, what's for dinner was our running.
Sure.
was
That
our running
became a
joke.
running line for the whole shoot.
Yeah. Then it would probably I would be like, well, that doesn't look like dinner. That's more like an appetizer. And we'd get childish like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you'd blow each other, or
Sure, and then
whatever,
bada bing, bada
or
boom.
whatever,
Or whatever.
happens.
What happens on a set
Whatever.
stays on a set.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
whatever.
I don't kiss
Beef
and
is
tell.
literally for dinner.
Yeah.
Beef is literally for dinner.
I cut off his dick and I ate it.
Oh my God! Wait,
I ate
took a total other turn.
Yeah, no, I ate it.
I had no. Okay, so that's confirming that.
It was delicious.
Oh my God! Well, at least it was good.
Yeah, it was delicious.
So that was your holy shit moment. Right?
That was a holy shit moment.
I can't believe I'm with this guy. Mine was one of mine was Beerfest. Donald Sutherland was in the movie. And he has a small part in the beginning of the movie. And Donald Sutherland loved him for MASH and Animal House, whatever.
Everything.
Loved the guy. And so he came to the set. He only shot for one day, and we were doing the scene. And he didn't understand, he couldn't figure it out in his mind. He's an actor, and he couldn't quite figure out the dialogue. And so he said, "Who wrote this?" And then I walked over to the guy. Well, I did. And he said, "What does this mean?" And I said, "Well," and I told him, "Well, it means," and I started saying the dialogue. He goes, "Don't you give me a line read. Tell me what it means." And at that point, I was like, "Fuck you, you fucking asshole." And he proceeded to be a prickly dick the whole day. And in my mind, I'm like, "God damn it, I love Donald Sutherland. What happened?" And
So your moment was
Mine was a bummer.
Your moment was basically getting shit from
for Donald Sutherland,
which is still kind of a badge of honor in a weird sort of way.
It was good because
he was showing you his emotional dick.
It was, and I was I was the
yes, he was. He was,
and I was the focus of his ire. But that's
But
okay.
Also, unbelievably cool as shit was that he's playing the grandfather who's bedridden sick.
Yeah.
And he was offered, he in the movie he's chugging beers, and he's passed away, and now they're reading his video will, and in that he's chugging beers between his proclamations, and so he was offered the special FX one, which had a tube that would suck the beer out of the glass, and he said, "No, I'm not going to do that. My character's drinking these beers." Right. So. And then
it's great, Donald.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It's not really, but yeah.
Thank you very much. Chris said it was.
Pretty spot on.
Okay.
But then it was like, okay, well, do you need to go to the bathroom? He's like, my character is ill and bedridden. He would not be able to get up and go to the bathroom.
Right.
He sat for 6 hours. He sat in that bed and chugged beers and never once got out of bed.
That is amazing. Did you remind him the movie was Beerfest and not like a Sony Pictures classic period piece?
You don't have to.
In
you
my
can
mind,
fake
I'm like,
some of this.
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
Whatever, Sutherland. Whatever. Just get out of bed and go to the bathroom. Who gives a shit? Come on.
Check it out. Here's my dick. This is how it works.
It's what's for dinner.
Pee all over him. I like that you told the story about Sutherland being a fucking asshole to you.
Well, he was. I mean, there's no question.
But you were
no question about it.
And you were like, when I was a kid watching Animal House.
Oh, yeah.
Did I ever think this guy would be
like Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, you're like, but no, he was not that nice of a guy. I'll be quite honest with you.
I like one of my. This has nothing to do, but this is another celebrity thing. We were, I think we were promoting Club Dread.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or no, I know. We were about to start shooting Club Dread. We were in the process of casting.
Yeah.
And Paul Stoddard and I, Fox flew us out to Los Angeles, and they put us in first class.
Right.
And so, and sitting across
Hollywood assholes.
Assholes.
Yeah, with the crowdfunding money. So across the aisle, it was Adam Arkin.
Not Alan, but the son.
Alan's son, Adam.
Right.
And Paul Stoddard and I were playing cards. We were in the habit of playing this game, Deuces. And we're just playing, it's like any other card game, round after round after round after round. And Paul got up and he went to the bathroom, and Adam Arkin looked over and he came over to me. And in my mind, I had that thought for 1 second. I thought he was going to say, I read your guy's script, Club Dread, because we were casting that role, and I just want to say it's really good. I'm a big fan of you guys, and I'd love to play it.
Amazing impression.
But what he said was he was like, excuse me, the sound. Could you guys the sound of the cards cutting on the table? It's like a knife cutting through the air. I was wondering if you guys could just stop playing cards.
Holy shit!
And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then he went and sat back down. And I can only imagine from his point of view what it was like to watch my buddy come and sit back down next to me, watch me lean over and say something to him, and then the two of us burst out laughing. And then continue to play cards.
But you know what? Then that sort of opens up. Then it's just you go back and forth. The laboratory is just crop dusting. You're just silent farts all the way back and forth.
Yeah.
Behind. Now I have a positive story with something where I don't know if I've ever. if I told this on the podcast, it's been years, but
Is this an Adam Arkin story?
it's not an Adam Arkin story. It's even better.
Okay.
It's even better because it's very open to interpretation, and there's not really an ending to the story.
Okay.
It's just an experience, and maybe you can tell me what it means. But this was years ago when I was still working for MTV. And I was flying to like spring break or something for MTV Spring Break, and we were flying over. It was like the first time I think they flew me in first class. So this is a very big deal to me because before the MTV they wouldn't do it, and they would use other on-air talent to pit you against each other.
Sure,
we're not going to fly you business class. I mean, Bill Bellamy didn't fly business class his first 2 years. I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
So anyway, I'm flying first class, and I had a whole kind of the two seats to myself, and then across from the aisle is Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I like it already.
JCVD.
I like it already.
So we're flying over a storm, which I'd never really seen before. It's nighttime. We're flying over a storm, and we're flying over a lightning storm. And it was one of the most this is probably like 96, 97. It's one of the most breathtaking things I had ever seen. There's just like lightning whipping through the clouds, and it sort of looks like what I imagine, like a brain in a sci-fi movie would look like. It's just so electrical and beautiful. And I sort of just said out loud in a pre-social media era, God, it's such a bummer that this is the most incredible thing I've seen. It's such a bummer that there's no way to take this experience and put it into someone else's head. And I wasn't saying it to him directly, but I just sort of said it. And he leans way over. He might have actually gotten up and sat next to me, and he goes, but no. This experience was just for you, and it was special. And because of that, you own this experience, and you should always cherish it.
Wow.
And then he got back up and sat in it. That was the only interaction I had with him, was him just to come over and drop some sort of beautiful philosophical mantra for this experience that I had with this thing. And
Have you met him since?
No.
Okay.
I don't know if that's how I don't know if he was drunk or if he's just super hippie or philosophical or
Belgian.
whatever it was.
He's Belgian, right? Isn't he?
Maybe that's what it is.
I think that's what it is.
He's a time cop is
The
what he is.
Belgian or-
Time cop. There's another one. Time cop's got to come in halfway through your movie
We've got to.
and be like, guys.
We've got to.
And Van Damme does the split, and
Sure.
on the wall.
All right.
You know what I mean?
So that is the big reveal. That's just, people will forget by the time it comes out, but that's the big reveal is that Time Cop comes in at some point and gets involved
Boom.
in the thing.
It takes us back in time.
Yeah. Should we bring RoboCop into it? I mean, are we jumping the shark if I bring RoboCop into it?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Maybe just because they just did a RoboCop not that long ago.
And also,
right.
don't say to Hart will go upstairs and get the RoboCop head and bring it down here.
I don't have any RoboCop
I have the
stuff.
RoboCop head.
I'm hoping he's going to go up there and bring Jean-Claude Van Damme down here. Like, check out what I've got.
He just jumps down
Yeah,
through
he
the
comes
window and is like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
How are you?
I want Jean-Claude
told
Van
you
Damme.
never to tell anyone." And then he breaks my neck.
Yeah, exactly. And then he says to us,
moment.
yeah. And then he looks at us and says, "Now this is your moment." And then we go, "Thank you,
okay.
thank you very
Don't
much."
tell anyone.
Yeah. I feel like he's doing a good job of like coming back. I mean, I didn't see the movie JCVD, but I heard it was great.
Yeah.
And I've seen him in a bunch of commercials where he's sort of parodying himself. And
Sure.
And he seems to get kudos along the way for these things.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, but the indications that I have when I met him 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, was that he came off like a good guy, like a nice, normal, good guy, like that, So not in the camp of martial arts people that you're like, oh yeah, they're not. Don't go near them.
Yeah,
sure,
right.
Well, even in the movie.
Steven Seagal camp.
or whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and you could see it in the movies. Like in the Seagal movies back then, something I noticed, Seagal never got hit. He was invincible. Like no matter how many guys came at him, like he'd always dodge them and snap their arm at a 90
Some
degree.
Aikido.
But Van Damme, they would kick the shit out of him. Van Damme was always on his hands and knees,
Sure.
bloodied eyes.
fight back.
And he'd come back. He'd
Right.
dig down deep and come back.
Bloodsport.
And I always felt, and all of them, Lionheart
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and the others.
Yeah.
And the rest.
And the others. But I always felt that was indicative of what their personalities were. Like Seagal, just like, no way. And Van Damme is like, yeah, you take me to the end of the line. And
I mean, again, another amazing.
Sure.
I'm known for this.
I'm
known for my great impressions.
Just,
Sure you are.
yeah,
I'm known
yeah.
for it.
An
Yes.
amazing array, an arsenal, if you will,
JCVD,
of impressions.
It's funny because like when we first started doing our podcast,
Yeah.
one of the things I pitched to you was like, I want to do impressions every episode and then get our guests to do impressions. And the thing is, I've only got like one impression.
Sure.
We're like,
and then we would have people on like Will Sasso would come on, who's an amazing impressionist.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
He would just kick your ass.
he would do the shitty impression I was trying to do.
Yeah. In like a second.
And work it out.
And then you realize it wasn't really worth your time.
Oh man, I forgot when man, when Will Sasso came on, we did this whole riff about if Van Halen did songs about having small dicks. We called it Small Dick Van Halen. And we just were saying, I live my life like I've got a small penis. You know, like, and it was just the dumbest thing and people talked to me about that for like a year. They're like, you gotta, I don't know, tour it or just make an album of Small Dick Van Halen. I was like, no, I think it was just fun in the snippets that you heard. I don't know if you'd want if you really got the whole album, you'd be like, oh, thanks, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, we
had the fun thing, same thing with Sasso because he's in Super Troopers too. Sasso is, and so we were in the hotel, actually recording a podcast in the hotel with him when we were shooting, and he was doing this routine of Schwarzenegger ordering food off the from room service. And it was the funniest thing. I wish I could do it. It was the funniest thing I've ever heard. And it got so loud that the phone rang, and it was the person next door at the hotel asking us to keep it down.
Was it Adam Arkin?
But it led to this whole other riff of maybe that person believing that it really was Schwarzenegger in the room ordering off room service.
He should have answered as Schwarzenegger and said, yeah.
I know it.
Opportunity missed, guys.
God,
I know we
Next time,
Get
you're in a
Will
hotel
Sasso
room
on
with
the
Will
phone.
Sasso. Get Will Sasso in a hotel.
No, in fact, that was the episode. So we got kicked out. We got a noise complaint. So we were like, all right, let's move this to another room. And so we had the whole portable kit walking through the hotel. and Kevin, okay, I'll say this. One of us accidentally gave away what hotel we were staying in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Right.
And we started getting the tweets saying like, hey, you gave away the location of your hotel. And we didn't know
it for a month.
Yeah, but we didn't know which one of us it was, and and that's always nerve-wracking in Broken Lizard. Like when you fuck up, like if it turns out to be you, you're going to get killed.
Sure.
And we didn't know who it was, and then we went and listened to it. It was Kevin. So
Did anyone show up? And
No,
no
didn't.
one came.
They didn't.
No one
were
came.
you a little disappointed? Like, no
Yeah.
one.
Oh, that was a
Yeah.
bummer.
I
Not
thought-
even like one.
What about no
stalker?
groupies or anything?
One?
Like you'd go to the desk and say, "Any messages from me?"
Yeah. Is that
No, still no.
Nope.
Not in the last 10 minutes, please.
Any
I'm
stalk-
running a hotel.
Nobody gave a shit.
Nobody cared.
That's all right.
So 420, Super
420.
Troopers 2 comes
Yeah.
out, and then your podcast also.
Yeah.
Chewing it with Kevin and Steve. We used to be on Nerdist, and then I don't know why we fucking took off.
Yeah, the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah, we
left
split.
Left the thing, and we followed.
Yeah, we followed you right out the
his
door.
wake.
Yeah.
That's because we want to still work with Katie Levine.
Katie's the best.
Yeah, Katie Levine is the reason.
This
for it all
podcast,
to
Katie
happen.
is the foundational
I know it.
backbone of this podcast. It wouldn't exist without Katie Levine.
And she, as she left Nerdist, she only took like 4 podcasts with her.
Yeah.
and
She was
we're
very
lucky to be one of
selective.
them.
Yeah.
So we're
She-
lucky to
she
be one
was-
of them.
Thank you, Katie.
She was very selective.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, Katie's the best. People always ask for like, hey, on the next host, we usually get Katie to talk, and we pitch it to her, and she's like, yeah, I don't want to. I don't know. I mean,
we're still going to have that episode where we interview Katie Levine.
Yeah, we've been trying for a long time.
can I tell you though? In the beginning, I'm sorry we're talking like you're not here, but in the beginning, like when Katie comes on and she does stuff in the intros of ours.
Yeah,
In the
yeah.
beginning, she was way not a fan of it, but she like totally. I feel like you've embraced it since then.
Kind of used to it.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I think people deserve to hear some of the Katie Levine story. I think
That's
people.
it.
I think
We're
it
doing
is
Katie
time.
Levine. We're doing it.
Doing a Katie Levine. You're going to do Super Troopers versus Reno 911,
Right.
Police Academy, and Time Cop. And then even just saying it sounds really awesome. Even just saying all those things together sounds. I mean, I got like I got like a bit of a chub.
Sure.
Just even
Sure.
saying those things together.
Put them all in the same sentence.
Yeah.
I have to say, of all the ones we talked about, was Reno 911 Police Academy, it's the Van Damme of it that I'd be.
Then he just pops in and at the end.
If you were in a movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme,
Sure.
I guarantee you that if you were able to pull that off and you guys did it and Tom and Ben and the rest of that gang did it, there's 0% chance he would say no. Because he would, he seems to
I
be
know.
fun.
But you could get him anyway, I feel like.
I feel like in the idea we've been talking about for Super Troopers 3 that there's
could.
a role for Van Damme.
You know what's funny, though? We had a buddy who was producing a movie. I won't say who it was, but it was a Van Damme movie, like down in New Orleans. And he was so excited to work with Van Damme. And the night before they started shooting, it was that when Van Damme had his heart attack.
Oh,
Remember that?
Yeah.
Van Damme
I
had a
do.
heart attack like 3 years ago or something.
Oh.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he had to drop out of the movie.
Oh my God.
So-
But he was like, all right, Hart, take me to the edge.
Yeah, that's
And
I have to
now
go all
I'll
the
kick
way.
this shit out of you. And now I'll kick this shit out of you.
That's right. I'm coming back now.
Squash this heart.
This lion heart.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
No, I have actual lion's heart.
Exactly.
But it's an extra heart.
It's Belgian.
Yes. It tells me to do the splits.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming and doing this. This was
Thank you.
incredibly enlightening too, in terms of crowdfunding and getting something together. And because we always tell people on the podcast, like, oh, just go make your thing. But the more you want to scale up that thing, the more complicated. If not that you shouldn't do it, but just expect the unexpected, but be flexible. Be flexible along the way.
Yeah.
I think God, it's like we keep learning. Every time we make a movie, we learn something.
But also the landscape changes every time. It's how to reach an audience keeps evolving.
And what was what's the most valuable piece of advice, having gone through this crowdfunding process, that you can give to people as we're wrapping this up?
It's kind of the same that it's always been, which is just you have to just go out there and do it. Like nobody else is going to do it for you. You literally have to do whatever you can to make it happen.
But that's why we've made a bunch of movies, and that's what you end up realizing, that you still have to do that. You still have to go do it for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even though you've made that many movies and your movies do well, it still wasn't easy. This like 5th or 6th time out or whatever it was, still like it's so rare. I think no matter how far along you think you are, there's always going to be obstacles, even if they're new obstacles or the same obstacles or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So just know that that's going to be the case, and don't let that stop you from doing it anyway.
Yeah, and it ends up being worthwhile. That's the whole point, I think. We love the movie that we made, and we're excited to show it to people. And thanks to the fans who helped us.
Yeah, and it turned out well.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch it. I have a link to it, and I'm excited to take pictures of you in the dark helmet.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
With your dick out.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Yeah,
It's what's for dinner. Yeah.
Doing a split on the wall.
There it is.
Okay, good.
All right, the end. Enjoy your burrito.
ID 10T scanning complete. Enjoy your burrito.